So loading and performance of a drone is much more important than you may realize, especially after flying those little hub sands that we've been flying for the past couple of months since August. It's really, really important, because if you want to maintain control, you've got to follow the rules about loading and the performance of the drone. You also know that if the weather is very, very hot, the aircraft or drones are going to have a hard time reaching altitude. It's going to be hard for you to maneuver a drone when the weather is very hot. When the weather cools off or gets very cold, and we'll hopefully do that before the end of the semester, we'll fly drones when the weather is nice and cool. You'll be surprised at how much more control you have over the drone by the fact that the weather has cooled off. Any aircraft flying, whether it's a drone or a full-size aircraft, has trouble when the weather gets too hot. In fact, in Phoenix, Arizona, there are days when commercial airliners simply cannot take off. So my suggestion is, if you want to have consistent air service, don't live in Phoenix, Arizona. So one of the important things about drone is the source of information. You must get a hold of any user manual or pilot operating handbook in order to get the information necessary to follow through on your responsibility as the pilot in command. You have to know virtually everything there is to know in that manual. Now, is that a lot of information? No, not a lot of information. What information is there? How long does a battery last? How much weight can you carry besides the weight of the drone? That's going to be in there. That's called useful load. And just like aviation, if I want to determine the useful load of an aircraft that I'm flying, the useful load the useful load includes fuel and oil. That doesn't come with the empty weight of an aircraft. And the same with a drone. The empty weight of that drone is without the battery. And in this particular case, that's a big difference, isn't it? Because I'd imagine that battery is worth a couple of pounds, wouldn't you? That's one big battery. So in the case of any aircraft, but especially drones, pay close attention to the useful load that you are allowed to take up in the air, and include the battery in there. So if the battery weighs 2 pounds and the useful load is 10, you can only put an 8-pound camera on there if you want to. So that's how you come up with the information on useful load, and that will be one of the questions on the exam. If your drone weighs 10 pounds without the battery, and the battery weighs 2 pounds, and the useful load is 15 pounds, how much will the battery, how much will the camera weigh in order for you to attach a camera to the drone? You're going to have to make that little calculation. It's simply a matter of making sure that you understand that the empty weight of a drone is without the battery. Humberto. If what? What if you exceed the weight limit? Well, is somebody going to slap your hand? No, right? But remember, the minute you deviate from any design parameters in anything, whether it's an aircraft or not, or a drone, you have now become what? A test pilot. If you're in an aircraft, being a test pilot is a very serious thing, right? With a drone, $1,200 for that drone, and if you lift more than what's required, or more than what is stated as a maximum weight, you're risking $1,200 worth of drone. Now, if your parents have a lot of money and they can afford to buy you 2, 3, 4, 5 drones in case you destroy one or two of them, that's fine too. The point is, if you deviate from anything that is stated in any of the manuals, whether it's the pilot operating handbook or the user manual, you are risking damage to the drone. And you are risking other people, because it won't be as controllable as a drone that was maintained at or below the maximum weight. Now, one of the things that I want you to take a look at when you get an opportunity, and that is look at those charts that I gave you, those aeronautical charts, and you will see on there terrain information. It's colored differently from flatland. Flatland is a light green. The mountains are brown, dark brown, and shades of brown. And it's really important to know where you are flying the drone. If you're here in Greeley, no big deal. If you're in Fresno, no big deal. But if you decide you're going to visit your friend somewhere up in Minden, Nevada, or Lake Tahoe, where you have mountainous areas, and you happen to land your drone on a steep slope, just remember that there's going to be a question on the exam that says, how will a significant slope affect the takeoff of a drone? So you're going to need more space to take off a drone on a downhill than you would an uphill, right? Is that right? It is not right. Just think about it. If this is the hill and you're going to take off downhill, you're automatically going to get a boost by going downhill, right? Okay. And if you're going to go uphill, it's going to take a lot longer to get that drone off the ground if you're going to get it up the ground far enough to be safe. I realize that drones kind of just lift off, but if you're out somewhere, let's say you're high in the mountain somewhere and you're on a slope, it's going to take you a little longer to get that drone up away from the rocks on the ground than it would otherwise. So just remember, going uphill takes a lot longer to get that drone above the ground safely. Just make a note to yourself that the terrain does have an impact if it's significant enough. And all across the Central Valley, I can't think of a place except those big hills that are north of here on Reed Avenue or Frankwood Avenue. Those two big, I call them hills. You may wind up inadvertently landing a drone on one of those hills, on one of the angles of the drone. By the way, this is a pretty sophisticated drone. It has sensitive electric eyes that tell it it's coming near an obstacle. So it won't hit a tree, it won't hit a wall. It'll stay away from it. Also on your controller, you can tap the screen, and the minute you tap the screen, the drone will go to the place on that map that you tapped. It's just amazing how sophisticated these drones have become.